You ever have one of those moments, where you have the absolute best intentions, you're trying to do the right thing, but it just doesn't land right, where you think you're being fair, but you get this feeling that you're missing something? Well, today we're going to dig into that exact feeling, and we're going to do it using this really powerful idea, the cave of comfort. We'll talk about what it is, and more importantly, how we find our way out. So what is this cave of comfort? I want you to think of it like a mental bubble we all live in. It's built from our own background, right? The people we hang out with, the desire to just keep things pleasant and avoid conflict. And look, it's comfortable in there. It's familiar. It's a place where we can feel like we're doing everything right, without ever realizing that our silence, or maybe our inaction, is having an impact we never intended. And here's the real twist. The cave isn't for bad people, not at all. It's for well-meaning professionals, people like you and me, who truly believe in fairness, but just haven't had a reason to see how limited their own perspective might be. It's where that desire to be polite actually stops us from being truly present. Let's make this feel a little more real with a story. Okay, so let's meet Claire. She's an experienced, dedicated teacher, the kind of person you'd be thrilled to have teaching your kids. She's kind, she's passionate, and she genuinely believes in treating every single one of her students with fairness and respect. I mean, listen to that. On the surface, that sounds perfect, right? It's the gold standard for being a professional. Impartiality, consistency. Who could argue with that? For Claire, this isn't just a rule she follows. It's a deep-seated belief about what it means to be a good teacher. And look, she didn't just pull this idea out of thin air. Like a lot of us, Claire was raised with this notion that the polite thing to do is to not see difference, to kind of gloss over it. It's a way of thinking that comes from a good place, a desire not to offend anyone. But as we're about to see, it can have consequences she never, ever saw coming. So there's Claire, totally comfortable in her cave, completely confident in her approach to teaching. And then one day, something happened. A single moment. One comment that just completely shattered her entire perception of herself and her classroom. It was the moment that forced her to finally see the walls of her own cave. So, picture it. It's a totally normal school day. She's leading a pretty lively discussion in her class. And from her perspective, everything's going great. It's fair, it's orderly, she's got it all under control. And then, this. A student, Alicia, says these words out loud. Can you imagine hearing that? As a teacher who prides herself on fairness? That's not just a criticism, that's a direct hit to her core identity, the kind of moment that just makes everything stop. And you can probably guess her immediate reaction, right? It was defensive. She said something like, "That's not true, Alicia. I treat everyone the same." But the words, they just stuck with her. They replayed in her mind over and over. Was she right? Could she be right? Have I been so focused on my intention to be fair that I completely missed the impact I was having? Claire's experience, that jolt, that sudden shocking awareness, is something a lot of us can probably relate to in some way. And it's actually a recognized step on the path to becoming more inclusive. So let's talk about the invisible forces that keep us stuck right there, that make the walls of that cave feel so solid. This is what some psychologists call stage +1, or emerging awareness. And it's not about being a bad person or a bad professional. It's about being a professional who is just starting to wake up to a reality that's way more complex than they thought. It's that uncomfortable but absolutely critical first step where you realize, wow, maybe my good intentions aren't actually enough. So what are these forces holding us in the cave? Well, a huge one is just fear, right? The fear of messing up, of saying the wrong thing and making everything worse. Our upbringing, like Claire's, plays a massive role. So do our workplaces, especially if they're the kind of places that value a fake harmony over real, honest conversations. And at the heart of it all, just the simple, powerful comfort of sameness. It's just easier to relate to people who are like us. Okay, this slide right here really puts the whole problem into focus. It's the core conflict. On one side, you have Claire's intent, which was totally positive, to be fair, to be impartial. But then you look at the other side, the impact. Her students felt invisible, unheard. Her version of fairness actually felt like erasure to them. That gap between intent and impact, that's the blind spot created by the cave of comfort. So once you realize you're in a cave, are you just stuck there? No way. Thankfully, staying stuck is not the only option. There is a clear path forward, a journey from that first moment of awareness to what we can call active allyship. And listen, the journey out of the cave isn't some giant, terrifying leap. It's really a series of intentional steps. First, there's the awareness that Claire had, just admitting the cave is real. The next step, and this one is so critical, is seeking out support and places where you can reflect safely. And only then can you really move on to taking action that's meaningful and informed. And that support piece is everything. This is not about blame or shame. It's about creating spaces where people like Claire can talk about their blind spots without being attacked. It means things like peer coaching, having leaders who are vulnerable themselves, and learning to ask ourselves those deeper questions like, whose comfort am I prioritizing right now? Because ultimately, this is the whole point. The journey out of the cave is about completely redefining what we think inclusion means. It's about moving away from that passive, polite idea of treating everyone the same and moving toward the active, engaged presence that it takes to make every single person feel seen, feel safe, and feel valued for exactly who they are. You know, Claire's story started with a really painful moment, but it ended up putting her on a path to becoming a much better, more connected teacher. And it really leaves us with a question to sit with. We all have a cave of comfort, a space that's been shaped by our own lives and our own biases. So what's keeping you in yours? And maybe more importantly, what's your first step out?